What up, people? I am back for another video. Today, I am going to be listing my 7 favorite 1992 films. I felt like a couple of them, because originally it was going to be like 10, but I felt like a couple of my picks were movies that I like, and I love them even, but I don't actively watch them all the time. And I feel like with these lists, I want to go with movies I actively watch all the time, because that's the point of these top 10s or top whatever. Like the top 10 and 84, I watch all those movies like all the time. So I felt like it wouldn't be fair if I just picked a couple just to fill a slot. So these 7 are actually the only ones I actively watch. I will give some, I'll mention them though. Like I had My Cousin Vinny on there. Love that movie, but I'll be honest, that's not my go-to Joe Pesci movie. It's even to a point like, I don't actively watch that one all the time. I love it, but it's not. Unforgiven, I feel like I want to do a video on that movie before I love it. That was on the list, but I felt like I would have just had it on there just to fill a slot. So we're gonna stick with these main 7, and next year is 1993. 1992 is not a bad year though. There was a lot though. Like Passenger 57 was on there. Fucking Hellraiser 3, Army of Darkness, Batman Returns, which is my number 1. Like 92, like this is when like the 90s I feel like we're really kicking in. Grunge is full on taking over in the music world. Rap is coming kind of on the come up. You know, unfortunately at the LA riots in 92. So I think we're full on in the 90s now. So but before we get into that, tomorrow I probably will not be doing a video since it's 4th of July and I have to watch a bunch of stuff. So there won't be a video on Tuesday. So on Wednesday, I'll be doing Tomorrow Never Dies. Thursday, The Patriot. But if I do not, I want to review Starship Troopers 3. I just haven't had the opportunity. So it will be sometime this week. I'll just say it. It will be sometime this week. We'll do Starship Troopers 4 next week, because on Thursday, since it's 4th of July week, and I've been planning on doing this the week of 4th of July, I will be doing The Patriot with Mel Gibson. I fucking love that movie. That's probably one of my favorite Mel Gibson roles that's not like Lethal Weapon. Like his performance in that is so good. And Jason Isaacs as the villain, it's like, oh, it's so good. Fucking Heath Ledger's in it. That whole movie is great. So I'll be talking about that on Wednesday. Friday, for sure, will be Candyman 2. Farewell to the Flesh, I think it's what it was called. And then on the weekend, we'll be doing The Gamer, that movie that Steve recommended me finally. And then probably Sunday, sometime we'll do Starship Troopers 3. And maybe something else. But that's my video plans, at least up until now, I got going on. But let's jump into 1992. So my number 7 is Hellraiser 3. Sorry. Hellraiser 3, in my opinion, it's definitely where the Hellraiser movies, I'll admit, kind of started to get weak, because they got rid of Kirsty. I think that's easily the movie's biggest if I had to say biggest flaw with Hellraiser 2, was that they did not need to get rid of Kirsty. She was a character you could have easily brought back. I think in general, like she was, if you wanted, hold on. There you go. I didn't feel like the camera was looking off. But yeah, I just not killing off, but like having her just never show up again. It's like she was a character. She could have been like your, you have Nancy Thompson for Nightmare on Elm Street, your Sidney Prescott's with Screams, your Laurie Strode's. She could have been the face of your franchise, or like your final girl for this one, and she just, oh shit. She just fucking disappears, But the girl they got, Joanne, is fine. She's this reporter looking to these murders, and the owner of this club finds like a statue, and it turns out that Split Pinner, blah. I'm like, my fucking mind's like all over the place right now. Holy shit. So Pinhead splits into two parts where we get World War II, where it's like Pinhead in his like human form, which I thought that was cool. Getting a lot more of his background, and then evil Pinhead, or regular Pinhead. So he gets freed, makes a couple people the different Cenobites are trip. I love when they're let loose on Earth. I like that aspect. That's why it's called Hell on Earth. The gore they don't hold back on. That scene where Pinhead just kills everybody at the club is pretty brutal. So it's not like there's not good things in this movie. It's just they really getting rid of Kirsty, and they don't really have an explanation, because Kirsty could have easily tweaked that movie. I even said this in my review, that you could have tweaked the movie to where she was the reporter, where Kirsty's the reporter. That's all you have to do. Like, because in this, her cameo, I don't even look at that as a cameo, because I look at that as, if you remember the second film, she was in a hospital, and the footage they use in this is basically her in the hospital. So I'm like, that just looks like footage from the second movie that you just didn't use. So if you hear any booms, that's fireworks. That's why it took me initially a minute to film the video, because I'll be honest, I was initially hesitant on doing it because I didn't want to like a whole bunch of fireworks going off. But it seems like they're, at least now it's kind of quieted down. So yeah, but overall, Hellraiser 3 is a fun one. I definitely had to put it on the list, at least give it a mention. Doug Bradley's performance is great in it. I thought he did good as even, like, I guess you can call him good Pinhead, or his human form. I thought he did good. Getting his backstory, but not getting too much of it to where it was like you're showing too much and you're telling too much. I didn't think they went that far with it. They told a good amount of his story, but not too much. So that's my number 7. Number 6, Alien 3. Alien 3, this is a controversial one, because a lot of people in the Alien fandom hate this movie. This is like commonly looked at as one of, like, in just almost any franchise, this is almost seen as like one of the worst entries. And personally, I don't agree with it. Like, it has its problems. Them killing off Newt and Hicks, how they did it, was shit. I can't defend that. I can't. Because how big those characters were and important those characters were. Fucking... But yeah, like, Pinhead, I'm sorry, my mind went blank for a second. They really fucked up killing Newt and Hicks the way they did. I think, especially Newt, one of the best things to come out of Aliens was the chemistry between Newt and Hicks. And then the way to just kill her off so, like, unceremoniously. Like, like just have her get killed in a fucking uh just in a crash. Same with Hicks, and it's like, but I will agree there. That was a fucked up call. But I do like, I would be positives. I love Charles Danson, and I thought I liked his character, and I could have, maybe they shouldn't have, I do think they killed him off a bit too early. I think that would have been my only change in the movie. But yeah, Pete Postlewaite as one of the prisoners. So, and I like the idea of a prisoner colony getting attacked by xenomorphs. You know, a different kind of group of people. And Charles Dutton as Dylan is fucking awesome. He was a great character who, yeah, he did fucked up shit, but you eventually learned to accept his character. And I think one of the things I liked about it too, with Alien 3, is that it tried to bring back the horror tone. You know, one of the reasons I love Aliens, but I do prefer the first Alien, is I love that horror tone of the original. And I'm not saying they did like a great job or anything with Alien 3, but I thought they did a good enough job with the horror stuff. And I'm talking about the assembly cut. The director's cut wasn't great. The assembly cut was fun. I thought it was a much more tight story. The xenomorph, I'll admit, when the fucking CGI is horrible, especially when it's moving. Like when it's moving, it does not look good at all. But I thought there were still some good gore moments. That I love that shot of Ripley, like when she's against the wall and the xenomorph's like heads against her. Like that scene is just so iconic, and Ripley's like looking away, and I think there's more good than bad. That's why I tend to like Alien 3. I understand, I'm going to reiterate, why people don't like this movie, and because a lot of people love Aliens, and I don't blame them. Aliens is such an iconic film. That relationship, that connection between Ripley and Newt, I'll agree. Killing off Newt the way they fucking did was shitty. I can't defend that. There just isn't, like, yeah, like, there's no defending that. Like, I can't. Like, how badly done that was. But I'll say this. But I love the sequences in the sewer. I love the kills. It brings back that horror tone a bit, and I actually like the ending. You know, and if you just ended there, like Alien through Alien 3 can kind of work as a trilogy. And I like Ripley's character in general in that movie. And you get a bit of Bishop. Yeah, it's not a long. You don't get a lot of Bishop, but you do get a little bit of Lance Henriksen in this. So you at least, there's still some. I will agree they should not have killed Hicks and Newt like that. I'm going to reiterate that. But I love Alien 3. So that's my number 6. We're now the top 5 territory. Number 5, Alien. Oh, not Alien. Holy shit. Candyman, which is a movie I just reviewed last night. Candyman. I'm gonna probably make this short since I just reviewed it yesterday, but Candyman is great. The slow build. Tony Todd, man, his voice is Candyman, and the way he performs it, even if you get a little bit of him, is done so well. And the world building they do. Sorry about that. The world building they do, and that is done so well. That scene where he opens his fucking jacket and you see like the fucking bugs coming out of his chest, the bees, is fucking crazy. And just the kills are great, the world building and just everything about that movie. So sorry if it seemed like I was going through that movie really quick. It's just I just talked about it yesterday, so. My number 4 is Army of Darkness. This to me is prime Ash. Like, I think lot of the best Ash we get is from this movie. I'll admit, I tend to still prefer like Evil Dead 1 and 2 over it. I like the more horror aspect, but I do think it's funny. I mean, this is where we get "This is my boomstick." And I love the medieval aspect about it, and I actually do think they do a good job of like capturing that medieval tone. Like it like feels like it could be like a medieval movie on its own if you took like the Evil Dead stuff out of it. I love Evil. You know, you have Evil Ash, which that was fun. Sheila was a solid love interest. I love. Holy shit. But yeah, like, so Ash basically is stuck in this medieval world, and he has to try to get back. And I mean, another thing is when he gets back, I love that ending when he's in the store, kisses the girl, and he has like the robot hand. It's just this is the iconic one, and I don't blame people who has this one as their favorite Evil Dead movie, because I don't blame you, because it's great. It has the humor. It has the right. I still think it has a solid amount of horror too. And yeah, Bruce Campbell's great. It's also the one I could say if you want to if you want to get a normie into Evil Dead, but if you have a friend who's not into the uber gore, this is definitely the one where you kind of can show them, because it has gore in it, but it definitely leans much more into the comedy, and it's definitely one if you want to get your normie friend into it, but you don't feel like they'll be too you feel like they'll be too scared to show them like those first two. You can show them this one. And I do think this one gives you a good rundown of the first two movies, especially the second one, enough to where you kind of can just watch this one almost on its own in a way. So, Army of Darkness, I had to put it on the list. I mean, groovy, you know, it's fucking iconic. I'll admit, I like personally prefer the tone of the first two specifically, but I love this one. Number 3, sorry, is Lethal Weapon 2. Lethal Weapon 3 to me is my second favorite in the franchise. I understand this is one that a lot of the fandom I've seen kind of say that 3 and 4 are kind of like the mid ones. I disagree, or like they like them, but they prefer like the first two. I love Lethal Weapon 2, don't get me wrong, but I tend to prefer this one. I tend to, of all the Lethal Weapons, like, I rewatch the most. I watch one the most, but 3 is, like, probably the second one. I'll admit, Travis isn't the best villain. He's kind of just, he's a cop gone rogue, and he wants to build, like, his own little town that he can control. Like, nothing, I'll admit, he's kind of a weak villain, but I love Lethal Weapon 3. Like, Murtaugh and Riggs' relationship in this is so good. That scene on the boat where Murtaugh is, going crazy. He ended up killing his son's friends with a gangster who ended up trying to kill him, and Murtaugh ended up shooting him. But Murtaugh had to deal with that, and that was, fucking him up, and that's why he was on the boat drinking, and Riggs had to talk him down. I actually liked the switch up, because in the first two, Riggs was the one that was on edge. So it was a nice change up. I love the addition of Lorna. Her chemistry, Rene Russo with Mel Gibson is so fucking good. She feels like a character that just, the moment she came on screen, just her and Riggs, like, oh, they're going to be something. And it was just kind of cool to see Riggs happy again, especially considering don't get me wrong, I liked it in the first two movies, his dark arc, but it's kind of nice to see him kind of back to just his happy self. He's in a happy new relationship. But yes, that's why it was kind of interesting to see him. He has to be the one to talk Murtaugh down. And yeah, I always have fun with this one. I tend to watch this one the most, like after the first one. Like the amount of times I watch this one, just I don't know, like something about I love fucking Leo in this one too. Like I just think the chemistry just is on. I think that's the other reason that the chemistry between Murtaugh and Riggs in this one to me is probably the best after the first one. I think it's like after they did 2 films together at this point, so it's like they built enough chemistry to where like yeah, they know each other. It's like in this one you can feel like they know each other like the back of their hand. I do feel that a lot in the fourth one too. That's why I tend to rewatch that one a lot too. It's just because of how long they've known each other. It's like second habit. Like it's just instantly there. So yeah, Lethal Weapon 3 is my second favorite. Yeah, it's Travis isn't the best villain. As if I had to say one kind of criticism is the villain's pretty weak, especially following like the villain in the second one. But yeah, my number one, Jesus, I'm fuck up with numbers. Number 2 is Reservoir Dogs. I fucking love this movie. This is Tarantino's like first big movie. The cast, that opening scene at the diner is one of those iconic scenes. Harvey Keitel, and the fact that you don't really get to know their names. They're just Mr. Black, Mr. Pink, Mr. Brown, Mr. White, and etc. And then some of them you don't even get to know because they end up dying. And you obviously have that like Tarantino scene where it's kind of out of order. Like it starts in the diner scene, which that's kind of present, but then it jumps to where they're committing after they committed a robbery, and some of them get split up. Then they come back at this warehouse, Steve Buscemi. And the fact that it's and a lot of this movie is in this one warehouse. Like, yeah, there's besides like because you do get like the background of each character, like well, at least the main ones anyway. Not every single one, but like the main ones, like kind of what them leading up to that. Yeah, Michael Madsen is great. I fucking love him in this movie. That scene is when he tortures the cop is pretty fucked up. And then yeah, we get the reveal that Tim Roth's actually an undercover cop. Oh, it's so good. And then that reveal in the end, pretty much yeah, everybody fucking dies in the end when the cops show up. Because yeah, we get because this is where Harvey finds out that he's a cop. Mr. Orange is a cop. Yeah, when he finds that out, yeah, it's a sad scene. And yeah, pretty much everybody dies. Great cast, great chemistry. And the fact that, yeah, a lot of this movie, besides like the flashback scenes, are in this one warehouse is what makes it so great, is that they make it work. It's in this one warehouse. There's not like a million sets. Don't get me wrong, I like movies with a million sets, but I like that you can that fact that Tarantino can make it work. That like yeah, you're really gonna only be doing it in this one location. It's not an action-packed movie. It's very much a dialogue-heavy movie, but it works. The soundtrack is great. Some of the shots, like when Michael Madsen would go outside to like grab something and he goes back in, like when the music's playing when he's about to torture the cop, is done so well. And yeah, you like every character, even though yeah, Tarantino does a really good job of making you like characters that yeah, they may not be like, they're probably not good people objectively, but he still makes you like them. And yeah, man, and yeah, you get that reveal. Yeah, I love this movie. I definitely recommend it. This is one I rewatch all the fucking time after Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is my favorite Tarantino film, but this is definitely top 5 at least. I think I put it at number 2 in my Tarantino ranking, because this one is great. 2 or 3. I think I may have put it at 3 because I think I put Django at 2. But yeah, I love this one. The simplicity of it. That opening diner scene is so fucking good. Just the dialogue, and it's just dialogue for like 7-8 minutes. you know? So, about number one is not a surprise. It's how much of a Batman simp I am. Batman Returns, which same thing, it's ironic, funny, the same thing, same year. Batman and the animated series came out, which is awesome. So, this movie, I don't blame people who ask this as their favorite Batman movie. It's up there for me. I still probably say 89, just because it partially nostalgia. Because I'll admit, this is probably an objectively better movie. If you love, you know, Burton's Gotham in the first one, you're gonna love it in this with the snow. Them bringing in Catwoman. Fucking Michael Keaton. I think though one thing though I like about this movie, the biggest thing uh, about this movie is I love it leans a bit more into the comic. Besides, like, yeah, they changed Catwoman's story to actually be like she's not bitten by cats or anything like that. But the fact that Burton, sorry, I'm still on Pulp Fiction, us talking about Reservoir Dogs. But Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman to me is so iconic. Like, she to me is Catwoman. Yeah, her origins being tweaked isn't the greatest thing, but actually, you know what? It works for this movie. It works for it. Christopher Walken as Max. He's like the secondary villain. Like, you have a bunch of villains in this movie, and creme de la creme, Danny DeVito as Penguin. That fucked me up as a kid, man. Well, especially because I think I had watched the animated series first before I'd watched Batman Returns. So in the animated series, Penguin's much more like accurate in the comic. He's not an actual penguin. That's just his name. But in this, he's an actual like fucked up penguin. His look, Danny DeVito killed it. I think that's the other thing about this movie in general. It's just the aesthetic of it. The chemistry between Bruce and Selina is uncanny in this. The costumes, the final act is crazy. The amount of characters, the world building. I can understand why some have this as their favorite Batman movie because there's a lot. And I personally do prefer 89, but this is definitely, like, if we're going objectively, this is the better movie. Like, the amount of shit in here, it leans more into the comics of, yeah, Batman fucking kills, but it's whatever. I just kind of accept it in this universe. But it was kind of cool to see. It was dark. Yeah, it's a much darker film. A lot of people do die in it. Even, like, Penguin's origin story is dark. Like, yeah, it's a very dark film, but I feel like it's not too dark, though. I think the people who say it's ridiculously dark have definitely overblown it. It is nowhere near as dark as some make it, so. But yeah, man, this is one of my favorite Batman movies. I watch this at least yearly, or at least I try to watch it yearly. I'm definitely going to watch it this year when we get closer to Christmas. I definitely count it as a Christmas movie. The fucking snow in Gotham, like, Burton's Gotham was already incredible, but just that added little detail of snow just changes it up and just makes it stand out. Like, that's why this visually is like, holy shit. Burton definitely got better, and I think that's the other thing. Like, Burton tightened up the script, tightened up the editing, because I can agree. I've seen a couple people point out that 89 has some bad editing, and kind of looking closer, it kind of does, but I still love it. But this definitely, it's like Burton refined his work, and I think he really did it well. And I'm going to just say it again. Danny DeVito as Penguin was so fucking crazy. And I do feel like he still has the comic aspect of the character in there. Yeah, making him an actual penguin, well, not an actual penguin, but like basically look like one and deformed. It works for his movie. It's Tim Burton. Fucking hell, I don't know why they're fucking birds at almost 2 a.m., but here we are. Sorry about that. But yeah, his fucking lair is so trippy, and I think if you accept, and yeah, I'm a Batman fan. Burton's, I think we always kind of just accept it with Burton because it's in the spirit of Batman. I actually think he leans a lot more into the comic stuff. Like even Bruce feels a bit more comic book Bruce, at least at the time, comic book Bruce, um, than he did at least in the '89 film. Was in the '89 film, I think they did lean in the comic a little bit, especially with Joker, but I still feel like it was more, this was in the '80s, so it was still, they didn't go in trying to be like faithful to the comic. I felt like Burton with this one, I do feel like he tried. Like even the way Penguin was, even they changed the story. Same with Catwoman, they changed the story, but I feel like they got that spirit. And yeah, I had to talk about this one. This definitely my number one for 1992. I think when I think '92, I think this movie. So yeah, next year's 1993. You already know my number one is gonna be Jurassic Park. I'm gonna probably make that part of the video kind of short, just because I already did a whole video of why Jurassic Park matters. I mean, I did a whole review on it too, so I don't want to like read or basically just say the same thing. So, but yeah, '93 in general. I think there's some other big ones like Last Action Hero is gonna be on that list. I'm trying to think what else was '93. It'll come to me, but yeah, yeah. So that's my next one. No video on 4th of July, but on Wednesday, I'll be back with Tomorrow Never Dies. But other than that, I'm going to cheers and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. I mean, on Wednesday. As usual, talk to y'all later. Peace.